record. So, let me just pin the video. Okay. So, what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. But I will get into the training because it ties perfectly into this. Oh yes, expanding you guys. So the more you expand, the more everything else will expand. And if something that you could do is you could say, I'm going to just focus on my business and expand that. And then I'm going to focus just on my love life and expand that. And then I'm going to focus on my kids and expand that. And then I'm going to focus on my life and then my health. And you can do these things like one at a time. But that's actually going to take so much longer than if you just focus on yourself. Because when you focus on yourself, it's like you push everything to expand with you at the same time. And that's why when I work with clients, I do so much inner work. Like, I feel like sometimes clients, even one-on-one, are like, why are we talking about this? You're supposed to be like business coaching me, but I do that because I know I'm like, if I can expand your business, like it's inevitable. And I learned that the hard way because when I first started in business, and this isn't even the business training, but when I first started in business, I remember signing up for all the strategic things, like the marketing coaching, the business coaching, the this and that. And I was so laser focused on like all the business stuff. And it wasn't bad, but it also didn't take me very far because the one who needed the work was me. Right. Like I was the one that was ultimately blocking the business in a lot of ways. Like it didn't matter how many strategies I had. It didn't matter how many things I was being taught and how much money I spent on coaches and how big the coach was or how big their results was. The reality was I could not recreate it for me because of me. Like I was the problem. I watched this, there's a show called Vida, and this story has been on my mind for a while. And in the show, one of the girls, like they're Latinas, and one of the girls, she like finds out the neighbor does limpias. So, and this girl, she's like, needs so much inner work, right? Like she's just a hot mess, like sleeping around, sleeping with guys that are married. She's just like all over. So she's like, oh, I need a limpia or whatever. So she goes to the lady and she does it on her. And I forget what she tells her exactly in that moment, but the girl doesn't like it. She's like, she does not like what she hears. I don't know if you guys have ever had a reading where you're like, I don't like that. I don't like that you just told me that. And sometimes, or in therapy, where you get a little triggered. And so she leaves and she's angry. And then after a few episodes, she starts to kind of learn and grow. And so she hits the point where, because I think in the limpia, the lady told her something like, oh, you have to get rid of the porqueria. Like that's what she told her, something along those lines. So then after a few episodes and she starts to kind of grow and like mature, she has this moment of realization where she's like, oh my gosh, I'm the porqueria. Like it was me. Like I'm the one that's like causing the drama in my life, and it's not always necessarily drama, but it's like it's just the realization of ownership and the realization of what happens when I'm no longer a victim to everything. Because when I'm no longer a victim to everything, I can now take my power back. And when I take my power back and when I have ownership, I get to actually change things. Because instead of saying someone else, everybody else is the author of my life, now I'm the author of my life. And when the pen is in my hand and I get to write what happens instead of let's wait and see what happens, all of a sudden I have more control than I realized. And I get to decide how the story goes, right? Because it's very different for me to say, oh my gosh, I got married and he was just the worst and he was a narcissist and he was a liar and I was just this like victim and I suffered and I struggled and I had nothing and I was in so much pain. But that's a narrative that takes me out of my power. Right? Versus if I look at the story and I say, oh, I chose to marry that guy. Why did I choose him? Why did I attract him? Why did I allow those things? Why did I do that to myself? And when I look at it that way, I can now analyze the situation and I can say, oh, this is why. Okay. How do I change that? All right, here's what I need to do. Now that I've changed that, I can flip the script, not do it again, not recreate the cycle, and create something different for myself. But I can only do that if I put the power back in my hands. I'm not responsible for what the other person did, but I am responsible for myself. And I am responsible for my actions, and I am responsible for my reaction to the situation. Right? But it's just about how can I take my power back? Because at the end of the day, that's the reality that I'm going to continue to live in. He's gone and created his own reality. What's going to be mine? That I'm still a victim of a situation I chose to remove myself from, or that I have ownership over the new reality I want to create for myself. Right? And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. And I want to actually, I got this like whole download visual thing that I'm going to try to share with you guys. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do it because I need a whiteboard. And I only had this one that my brother had. And I ended up ordering one on Amazon, but it doesn't come until tomorrow. So I'm going to try to work with this. I'm going to see if it works okay. If not, I'll just do it in my notebook. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with my notebook and then I will come back to the whiteboard. So what I want to show you guys first is that, I'll do it on this page. It's going to be very simple, but very impactful, I believe. Okay, so this is just a circle, but we're going to say that this circle, this is your reality. This is the world you live in. It's what you know, what you believe, what you have, what you've experienced. This is the reality that you exist in. However, outside of your reality, there are multiple realities. And this is the reason why we see people with bigger lives. Right? Like when you look at someone and you're like, damn, I want that. Like, how does she make so much money? How is she so successful? How does she have the relationship I desire, the family I desire, the home I desire? It's because this is the reality that you're living in. But there's also another reality outside of that. And there's another reality outside of that. And there's another reality. And it just keeps going and going and going because the universe is so expansive that it's not limited on what realities can exist or how big a reality can get. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I know there's people that I've like followed online for a while and I see them like take off. You know, and I've been in this coaching industry for a long time. And I can look back at like when I first started, and I've seen people who started at the same time and they've just taken off, right? Like gone from being in the same or similar place as me to like millionaires, really young, or featured in Forbes or New York Times bestsellers, like crazy stuff. They've just like expanded so much that I've found myself pausing at times to be like, oh, why am I still here? You know, like, how did they get all the way over there? And I'm still here. Like, I've been around as long as they have. Like, what are they doing, right, that I'm not doing? What are they getting? What are they seeing? What's going on, right? Because I was like, I could be there too. I've been working as long as they have, maybe harder, longer, probably, you know? And it's because what happens is we're like, okay, this is my reality. And so what happens is we decide this is what's possible for me. Right. But then outside of that, there's, oh, but now I'm seeing this person go from this reality to this reality to this reality, and they just keep on expanding. But I'm over here like going in circles, in my little reality of like what I believe, what I've decided is possible in my life. So what happens? How do we break out of that, right? So there's a few things. Let me go back to my notes here. So first, what I want to say is like everything outside of your reality, it's just a more expansive reality, but you have the ability to tap into it. So there's many realities, some more expansive than others, and there's always going to be a more expansive reality, always. The good news with that is you can create something bigger for yourself if that's what you desire. If you're right now, you look around and you're like, this is cool, but it's not quite it. I want more. I want more. Great. You're exactly where you need to be because that's step number one. And your reality is something that I want you guys to really understand that like you're the creator of your reality. Right. So when we take, again, remember that ownership, okay, I'm taking the pen back, you know, for a while, I thought my family was the creator of my reality. For a while, I thought my job was the creator of my reality. For a while, I thought everything I went through was the creator of my reality. But, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and take the pen back from everybody. You guys don't create my reality anymore. I do. I'm the creator of my reality. I write this story. So I want you guys to take it back and understand that what it goes back to is what you decide are your truths. So when you look around at your reality right now, I want you to kind of ask yourself, what have I decided is my truth? Because when I look, I can see it. Okay, I've decided my truth is this is my living circumstance. This is the relationship I deserve. This is the salary I deserve. This is the income I deserve. This is how much abundance I get to have or not have. Right? If I'm making the rules, great, because that means I can rewrite them. So I want to take a moment to kind of zoom in to your reality. So kind of going back to that circle. Okay, so we're zooming in now. So this is your reality. So what creates this, right? When you're looking at it from, okay, there's all these expansive realities. What creates this and what keeps you within this reality is your limiting beliefs. That's it. The only thing that's keeping you in there is what you've decided you can have, and you cannot have. Right? So all of these are your limiting beliefs, because this limiting belief is saying, this is where you got to stay. This is where you hit a wall. This is your limitation. This is as much as you can have. This is as far as you can go. This is as big as you can grow. This is as much as you can push yourself, right? This is just a wall of limiting beliefs. That's all it is. And so what happens is when we do the inner work, you begin to erase. Obviously, I don't have an eraser. This is a pen, but you begin to erase this when you're doing the inner work, and you say, you know what? I don't believe this anymore. And you know what? I don't believe this anymore. And I don't believe that anymore. And so when you start to erase that and you start to push the limiting beliefs away from you, before you know it, now you've shifted out of this reality and now you're in this reality. Right? And then you do it again and you do it again until you keep pushing out and out and out and into the reality that you desire. So all this is it's just a wall of limiting beliefs. That's it. And that's why always the work is what's keeping you there? What's keeping you small? What's making you believe that you have to stay in the reality you are currently in? Because, you know, we hear it all the time where people will say like, oh, you know, making a lot of money is hard work. And then we see other people that are like, oh, I make millions of dollars and it's super easy, right? And it's just like, why? Because they're living in a different reality. Because they got rid of the wall that said, making a lot of money has to be hard work, right? They got rid of that limiting belief and they were able to expand outside of it. Or, oh, how come I only can make this much money working 60 hours a week, but I see these people who make a lot more money working 20 hours a week, just because they got rid of the limiting belief that said that's how you have to do it. That's it. So it's really about asking yourself, like, what are the limiting beliefs that are keeping me in the reality that I'm currently in? And what keeps you there is just the concepts that you've chosen to believe in. So we all have created rules of what our reality is. I have my rules of my reality, right? The reality I see right now, okay, I've decided I get to make this much money. The rules are I make this much money, I work this much, I experience this type of love, I get to experience this type of life. Those are the rules I've created. So that's the reality I live in. Right. But I can change those because again, I've taken the pens back. Right. So if I'm like, I don't really like that reality, I'm going to change it. Okay. What's the limiting belief there? What's holding me back from having that reality that I see for myself? And we're going to journal through this, but I want to move through a few of these concepts. So I want you to kind of start thinking, what are the rules of my reality? Like, what rules have I decided? Or even if I look around, what does it say about my rules? Does it mean like, am I saying in order to grow bigger, I have to work harder? And is that really the reality I want to create for myself? Or is that going to make me actually like, is that actually another limiting belief I'm adding that's actually keeping me inside of my reality? Because we might say, I want to grow bigger. But if there's a little like writing under that rule subconsciously, we're like, so you have to work harder. Then we're like, oh, all of a sudden we're like, actually, I'm just going to like stay right here. I'm saying I want to go over here. But because in my rule, I wrote, you have to work harder to get here in tiny letters, my subconscious wrote that. Energetically, I'm actually keeping myself right in here. Why? Because it's safe, because I don't have to work as hard. I don't want to work harder. So I'm just going to stay here without remembering, oh, wait, the pen, I can erase that. I can change it. I can delete that and say, hey, actually, no, that's not what you have to do. That's not how it has to work because you're the creator of your reality. And I think a lot of times we make the mistake of believing that life happens to us and we're just like waiting to see what happens. But I guess I'll see what happens. I'll see like when my business grows. I'll see when I meet the love of my life. I'll see when I get to have my own family. I'll see when I get to have my dream home. But that with no intention just keeps it out in the universe. And the universe is like, when are you going to just reach out and grab it? Because it's really that simple. It's really just remove the whatever it is, whatever the block is, whatever the limiting belief is, whatever the fear is. If you remove that, you'll realize, oh, it's right there. It goes right there all along. All I had to do was remove the blinders that I had that made me believe that the reality I had to exist in was this one when I wanted this one. Because it really gets to be as big as you want it to grow. So what are the rules of your reality? Because in order to shift out of it, you need to do the inner work, right? That's where the healing comes in around your limiting beliefs. So those things, those are the walls keeping you where you are right now. They are growing pains a lot of times. I find that the way you know that you're shifting into a more expansive reality is that you are uncomfortable, right? Because as much as we might not want to stay in that little bubble, getting out of it is uncomfortable, right? Going here is uncomfortable. Going here is uncomfortable. Why? Because your physical body, we have to remember, like, as much as we're spiritual beings and we're souls, at our core, like we're not at, well, at our core, we're soul beings, but we're having a physical human experience. And our flesh is the thing that's like, oh my gosh, like I'll share an example with you guys. Like I recently, there's a coach I've been working with, and the way I was working with her was just buying her courses. I would just buy her courses, and she's taught me so much about being in my feminine, and I really like admire her. And I finally was like, you know what? Like, you need to be in her coaching container. You need to go, because she does retreats. I was like, you need to go to a retreat. And I was super excited about it. So I signed up, and then I freaked out because I was like, oh my gosh, like you're gonna go walk into this room of women that are millionaires, like your little scrappy self, walking into this room of women full of millionaires. Like, who do you think you are? Like walking into that room, and so my physical body was like, my soul knew, like, you need to be there. That's your expansive reality that you want for yourself. Pre-millionaire. I love that. That's a good term. That's what we're going to use. I'm a pre whatever it is you guys are trying to manifest. Exactly. See, that's what my soul needed to hear. Like I knew like my soul self was like, I want that. Sign up, let's do this, and then my physical self was like, hold on. How are you going to walk into that room and sit there with these women and pretend like you belong there? Right. But I knew I was like, girl, this is me, right? It's comfortable. It's more comfortable for me to just stay home, not go to that retreat, keep just taking the courses where nobody can see me, right? And I'm over here undercover trying to learn, or I can make myself incredibly uncomfortable and go to this retreat and go sit there amongst these women that I admire, but I'm like, are they gonna know I don't belong here, and make myself really uncomfortable in order to start to expand my reality, right? But here's the thing, coming out of this, this is like little old me, and I'm trying to break out of here. What does that mean? It means I have to face this, right? Here's me trying to get out of this reality, and now, oh, I gotta face this. What's here? Okay, what created the reality I live in? Oh, for some reason, I can't ask for that much. Why? Okay, let's dig into that. Why can't you ask for that much? Why can't you have that? Why does that feel like, oh, it's possible for them, but not for you? Right. So now you gotta face that, right? And that's why the physical, it freaks out. That's a sign. It's not a sign of retreat, because sometimes when our physical freaks out, we think, oh, that means retreat, right? Back into my reality. And I could have done that. I could have freaked out and probably emailed them, like, can I get a refund? I made a mistake, blah, 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 retreat. No, it's either you're faced with two options when you get there. You either retreat and go back into your comfort zone, or you look at the limiting belief and you break past it. And the way you break past it is by facing it. You have to face it. And that's the scary part. This is what determines whether you go past your existing reality or you stay in it. Am I going to face it? By doing it. The only way I can do this, you guys, is I got to get on the plane. I got to show up to the retreat. I got to sit there and I got to pretend like I belong there. Right. And that is how I'm going to break into a new reality. So when you find yourself with these opportunities of discomfort, I want you to think and realize, oh, I got to the wall. I just hit the wall of my reality. And when I break past this by facing this fear, I get to move into a new reality. I know what this is. No big deal. Not that it's not a big deal to our physical bodies, because our physical bodies freak out. But when you understand what's happening and you take control, now your emotions don't take control. Now your fears don't take control. Now your limiting beliefs don't take control because you're like, oh, I know what this is. It's all these limiting beliefs trying to just kind of push me back into my comfort zone and say like, no, you don't belong over there. Just stay home, just do you, let me push you back into what's comfortable. But when you're like, oh, I know what's happening. Okay, that means I really gotta go. That means I really gotta face this fear. That means I really got to push past this because I know what's on the other side. On the other side is the next reality. It's the next expansive reality that I want for myself. So before we get into journaling, let me just see if there was anything else on my notes. Anything you guys want to say before we go into the journaling portion? Feel free to unmute yourselves if there's anything you want to share, anything coming up.
This is kind of what you and I have been working on. When you said, why is that possible for them, but not for me? And it was like the full cake fridge. Remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
Where I was like, all these, to kind of connect the dots, Christy, it was about, I was telling Natalia about other cake bakers showing off their full cake fridges on the weekends. And I was telling Natalia, I was kind of like, I want that, but I don't know why I don't have that. I was saying, I'm fortunate enough to, when they sell 5 cakes, I sell 1 or 2 and I make the same amount. And I was kind of saying like, I don't know, like I want the full cake fridge. And this week is my busiest week. And I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I had a full cake fridge experience. And then this week I'm doing the same. And I was thank you. And I was kind of like, okay, I felt overwhelmed at first, but I was like, but you wanted this. You wanted a full cake fridge and now you have it. And so I'm just thankful because it wasn't until because when you're scrolling on Instagram, it's kind of, you have these thoughts and, obviously it's just you and yourself. So you have these thoughts, but saying it out loud to Natalia, it kind of like put everything into perspective. And she goes, well, do you want a full cake fridge? And I'm like, yeah, but not like that amount of work. And she's like, okay, well, do you have she's like, have you thought about buying a cake fridge? I'm like, I have one. It's that one.
Like it's already there.
So she's like, okay. She's like, well, why do you think that they deserve it, but you don't? And that, I think like that it resonates so much with me last week and this week because, I even told you, I was like, I have a full cake fridge. And, it's just, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for it.
And I wonder now with what you're experiencing, if it's either one that you're breaking past the discomfort of having a full cake fridge, or if it's a rule that you get to rewrite of, I have a full cake fridge, but it doesn't feel like hard work. Or it doesn't feel overwhelming. Because remember, we have our rules of our reality, right? My reality is I have a full cake fridge, but then it may be the lettering under it is, and it's overwhelming. So maybe it's going in and saying, okay, I have a full cake fridge and it feels so good and so fulfilling and I handle it with ease. So maybe it's now, okay, what's my rule? But how can I just, again, take the pen back and, you know what? I like this. Thank you for the full cake fridge. And I'm going to add a little something in there too.
Yeah. Spice it up a little bit.
Yes, exactly. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
No, thank you.
Christine, anything coming up for you, or are you good right now?
I'm good. I'm just thinking of already like some of my rules and similar to what she said, there's some things that has come up in our conversations in the past that I'm working on some things. I'm seeing, I guess, shifts, kind of the mentality of having to work really hard in order to make the amount of money that I want. And that whole like constantly working weekends and working like crazy hours, which is pretty much what I have been doing. And I feel like I've been letting go of that a bit and trying to balance more in my life and realizing that I'm doing great and I'm having a really good year. I still have my moments though, just because it's hard because it's just me and I have the new assistant that I'm training still, but so I still have those thoughts sometimes and I'm working on it, but
Yeah.
it's
And I wonder if it is a shift that you get to create for your reality of like, I make this much money, but this is how it feels. This is how it looks like. Cause I get that. It's like that's how I felt last year where I was like, okay, I hit my financial goal, but I was exhausted, and so I was like, okay, this year we're not doing that. Like we're gonna figure out how do I do this. And I was like, I'm gonna make more money, but I'm gonna work less. Why? Because I get to choose
that's what I
that
want.
reality. Yes, yeah. And it's like that's because I was like, okay, I work this hard to make this much, but I want to work less and make more. Like, why can't I choose that to be my reality? You know? So I think it's if you're happy with the money you're making right now, then I think it's asking yourself, how can I make this, but in a way that feels good? And it's actually, it's the same for both of you. It's like, how can I keep creating this result in my business, but in a way that feels aligned to me? What feels not aligned about it? And how can I rewrite that and change it? Because it sounds like you're getting what you want, whether it's the cakes or the money, but you're not getting it in the way that you want, or it's not feeling the way you want it to feel. And that's the kind of energy that again restricts us back into our place of comfort because we're like, oh, that's too hard to have. And then our container, our capacity to have will not grow. And it'll either stay the same or it'll get smaller because to us, we're like, oh, it's just it's overextending me to have this much. But you can increase your capacity to have without overwhelming yourself. Because the universe isn't saying you have to work hard if you want this. Like, I don't see you struggling enough. The universe isn't doing that. It's like, I can give it to you. You want to work hard? Okay, here you go. But you don't have to. Like, how can we make this easier? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's been
go ahead.
no continue.
No. Go ahead.
No, and this is something that I want to talk to you late because I had scheduled that one-on-one with you that ever since I moved into my new space and
Mhm.
had to let go of Alvin, and I've noticed this that the energy has shifted to where it's been easier. Like do
Mm,
feel like I'm working less. Like we have a lot of downtime in the office. And I don't
mm,
know if it's my awareness of wanting that, if it's the change of assistance, the new energy, if it's the new place, if it's all of the above. I don't know what it is because I'm just like, how is this happening? It almost feels, I don't know, like magical. It's just,
mm. I love that. So it's like, how can you lean more into that? And what I have found is like when we have that, it's hard for us to rationalize it, even though in our minds we want to, right? Because we're like, wait, how is this happening? But I find that that's when we know the universe is working its magic because we're like, oh, you're not going to know how you're making this much money because in your mind it doesn't make sense because now you're working beyond the physical. Because what happens is we have the physical realm and then we have the spiritual realm. In the physical realm, that's us working hard. We can make sense as to why I'm making this much money because I'm working so dang hard. That's us working in the physical. And then when you move into the spiritual, what happens is now you're like, wait, this doesn't make sense. Like I'm working, but I'm not working that hard. And this feels really good. And I'm getting the results I want to see, but I don't know how. And it's like, oh, that's because you shifted into the spiritual realm. where it doesn't make sense, because in our logical mind and our physical world, the physical world has decided the rules are work hard, make a lot of money. If you want to make more, you got to work even harder. That's the physical world. But when you're able to shift yourself outside of that and into the spiritual, now this is where you experience the magic. Because I saw that shift last year where I was like, I'm burnt out, I can't do this anymore, stopped working as hard, was making even more money. And I was like, every month I'd be like, how did I make this much money? I don't know. And I would try to track it, I'd look at my spreadsheets and, and I'm very like strategic in the spreadsheets and this and that. I'd be like, it does not make sense. And I'm like, you know what? Thank you, universe. I'm going to stop trying to figure out how and why and whatever. I'm like, you just keep it coming. So you don't even have to tell me how, like just keep doing it. So that to me is like, you've shifted into the spiritual, which is a great place to be. And tap more into that energy, like, okay, like this magical moment. Thank you, universe. This feels really good. Because the more you do that, the more the universe says, oh, you like that? Okay, let me give you more of that. Because that's what you're
Okay.
tapping into. I feel like you're tapping into it.
And I need to stay with that
Yeah.
because, of course, then I have my moments of panic, like,
Mhm.
being a sole business owner, it's like, how is next month going to be?
Yeah.
And I need to just trust and
Mhm. Yeah. And you will, like, you
Yeah.
absolutely will. Like, it'll just like lean into that more, because remember, you're going forward. You don't want to go backward. Like, you're shifting realities. So, like, let's say you were here and you shifted into here. So this is the space where now you say, okay, am I going to move here or am I going to go back here? Because back here, I know what this looks like, hard work. I might not know what this looks like, but let's find out. Because this feels like more ease and more expansion with ease. So what happens if I push myself that way instead of going back this way? Yeah. And I think that's what's happening. You're being pushed into another reality right now. I love that for you. The ease is always good.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so let me give you guys some journaling. We're going to take a few minutes, the last couple minutes, to journal here. So the first question I want you to journal around is, what is the reality? If there was no limitations, what is the reality I desire? And I'll put these in the chat box for you guys. So what is the reality I desire? Go ahead and journal around that. And when you're done, just let me know in the chat box that you're done. I'm gonna add the next question, but go ahead and keep journaling. Next question is, what is holding me back from that? This is where you can start to see what your limiting beliefs are. Go ahead and keep journaling. I'm going to add the next question, which is, what do I need to believe in order to expand into that reality? I'm going to add the next question, which is, what does the me who lives in that reality look and feel like? I'm gonna add the last question, which is, what do I need to release and let go of in order to expand into that reality? And I put all these in the Slack channel too, in case you want to. Oh, yes. Yeah, I sent it in Slack, and I'm also gonna upload the questions with the training. So if you guys want to spend more time with these, you can definitely do that. Go ahead and take another minute or so to wrap up, and you can always come back to these two. Okay, go ahead and jot down any final thoughts or notes that are coming through. And these are in Slack. That way, if you want to keep working on them tonight, and then tomorrow I'll upload the recording and the questions. But yeah, just wanted to check in. How did that feel? Anything come up for you guys? Anything you want to share, say, get help with before we close?
Sorry. So kind of for me, I was kind of like, we already did this already in one-on-one where you're like, you know exactly what you want.
Mhm.
And like, I know exactly what I want, how I want it. Like, I could give you the exact details of everything.
Mm.
Um, and with this, by the same token, I also know what's also holding me back from that. And it's
Mhm.
like, if I know, then why can't I do better? I actually was telling my niece this earlier. I said, "Don't you want to do better? Don't you want to be better?" But obviously, like she knows, and it's like if we know we want to do better, we can do better, then why don't we do better?
Mm.
So that was what was
And
coming up for me.
that's why we're doing one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
Because if it were that easy,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
you'd be there. That's why we all
Yeah.
have, that's why I have a coach. That's why we all have, we get help, therapy, coaches, because
Mhm.
if it were that easy, like all of us would already be in our most expansive reality. And I love that you pointed that out, because I had that same exact experience in the mastermind I joined, where we all wrote down what we wanted. And as soon as I wrote it down, I was like, I can see exactly what my problems are.
Mhm.
Because when you know what you want, you know what needs to be fixed in order for you to get there. But that awareness is huge, because once you're like, okay, I need to work on this, I need to shift this, I need to break past this limiting belief, I need to do inner work around this. That's the magic. When
Mhm.
it's like, okay, let me problem solve these, and then that's going to shift me into the reality I desire. So that awareness is huge. It's huge. Yeah. So I love that you said that. You know what you want, and now we're just working through it so you can have it. That's all it is. We're removing the blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
I love that. What about for you, Christina? How was that?
It was good. I mean, I definitely did not have a hard time answering everything. I don't know, I kind of struggled with the what do I need to release, even though
Mm,
for some of these topics, I think I know it's just really all in my head.
mm,
Um,
mhm.
but I don't know, it's a lot.
That's okay.
Because one of the things, huh?
I said that's
Because some of it is
okay.
what we've spoken about with the business.
Mhm.
But one thing we haven't spoken about also has to do with just like manifesting like a different home, like my dream home.
Mm,
But part of me with that, I think that I have a hard time manifesting that because I'm not very clear as to
what it
what I
is.
want. Like I know what I want, but
Mhm.
I like hold myself back.
Mm. And but you know what? It's okay because I think there's going to be some things in our life where we know exactly what it looks like, and then we manifest it. And then there's going to be other things in our life where we know what it feels like, and we manifest it from that place. And the way that it looks will end up matching what you like because it feels the way you want it to feel. So if you're having a hard time saying exactly like, this is my dream home, it looks like this, and it's this color, and it's this or that, what I would encourage you to do is instead focus on how does it feel? What does it feel like to be in that space? How do I feel being there? What does the energy of my family feel in that space? How does what does the energy of the home feel like? So try like manifesting it, writing it out based on that. And then trust that the way it looks will either come to you or you'll be able to manifest the home and be like, oh my gosh, I actually like really love this. I love the way that it looks. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I think I have to go more with the feeling because I
Mhm.
also worry too much about others, like pleasing. So one, there's four of us, which
Mhm.
that's fine. And then there's like I live near my parents, so it's a whole Hispanic family and they help us. And not that I want to move far, but
Mhm.
it's
Mm.
just there's a lot of factors. And then of course there's
Yeah.
the Miami housing market. That's a whole other thing. But
Mm.
it's not like it's so easy to just be like, I want that one. But
Yeah. So is there a reality that exists where your dream home is in a good proximity to your family? It makes everybody in your family happy, and it's within your price range, and it's what you want to. Do you believe that there's a reality out there where that could exist?
I know I'm supposed to say yes.
It's
But when you
okay, be
said in my
honest.
price range, that's where I was like,
But here's what I think is happening. There's the reality you want, right? Which is, oh, my dream home, and it's close to my family and we all love it and I love it. But then when we talk about the price range, you shift into, oh, the physical world reality. The earth I know, the reality I know, right? It shrinks back down into like, oh, the price range, nope, can't have that. That's the thing that's blocking you from it, right? Is that subconsciously there's the belief that I can have the home, but I'm gonna have to pay a lot of money for it. I can have it, but I'm gonna have to pay more than I want. Right now, that's the limiting belief that's keeping you in the bubble, that's not letting you have the home,
yeah. And I
you
wrote
know?
down too in my one of the questions was there's different ways to manifest a home. Because
Mhm.
I mean, yes, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, yes, you have to be able to afford it financially, but the first apartment that my husband and I lived in, it was through word of mouth, friend of the family that we
Mhm.
got a really good deal.
Yes.
So, and
So it's possible.
so I know there's different, anything can
Yeah.
happen, but
but can it happen for you? That's the, and it's okay right now in this moment. I'm not expecting you to be like, yes. And then on the inside, you're like, no, because the reality is you're not there. And that's okay. That's why we're here though, right? We're here because we're going to work through these together. I don't expect you to do it in a split second. But we're here to hold space for each other to work. It's okay. The way that you're going to do it is by voicing it and saying, that's my limiting belief. Okay. That's okay. That's the thing to work through, because every single place I have manifested, it's always been below market, and I have not had to sacrifice the place, the location, none of that. It's always been in my budget. So for me, it's like, that's a reality I'm expansive in. And then there's other realities where I'm like, okay, limiting beliefs, right? So in this one, that's the limiting belief, and that's okay. You have the ability to work through it. So I want you to your like homework is to focus on how it feels. I want you to feel into that. And because I feel like the more you feel into that, the bigger that's going to become against the limiting belief. We're not ignoring it. We're gonna face it. But first I want you to get clear on how the home feels, and then we'll do like step 2 from there.
Okay.
And if you guys ever have thoughts you want to share with each other too, please feel free, stories, experiences, because that's part of this, is to share
Okay,
that.
I actually have a story.
Good. I was like, I had a feeling, I was like, Natalie wants to say something.
Yeah. So when I was actually looking for this house, or for a house, I had my 3 non-negotiables. It was a backyard, location, and a kitchen for obvious reasons. And so I found a few location. I wanted to be close to my mom because she's single, and I wasn't single at the time, but I just wanted to be closer to her, make sure that I was able to get to her in case of anything. Backyard, I like to host, I like to have cookouts and things like that. And the kitchen, like I said, for obvious reasons, I love to cook, and I didn't know I was going to be running a business out of my home at the time. It was pre-pandemic, pre-business. But those were my 3 non-negotiables, and I found one that was like walking distance from my mom, but it didn't have the kitchen, but it did have the backyard. And I was like, okay, well, it has like 2 of the 3. And then I found another one that had the backyard, the location, but not the kitchen. It didn't have, and actually I had 4 non-negotiables. The 4th one was a gas stove. And so that kitchen didn't have a gas stove, and I was like, okay. And then I had a meeting with my realtor, and I checked right before I had my appointment, and the house had been listed 19 minutes ago, this house. And I sent the listing over to my realtor, and I said, I want to see this house. Please let me know if it's available. And so he said, I just talked to the realtor. Well, we can be there right after the first listing we're going to, or the first 2 listings. And so I said, okay. I got off of work, and I got to the area early enough, and I said, I know exactly where that is. I'm gonna go see the house beforehand. And I came to the house, and a car pulled up right behind me, and I was like, oh shit. My mom's like, get down. And I guess we're all Latinas here, so my mom's like, get down, no pierdes nada con preguntar. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to. And she's like, okay, if you don't want to, I'm going in. So my mom follows the guy into the backyard, and she's like, are you the realtor? And he's like, no, I'm actually a contractor. Like, we're just cleaning up right before, because someone's coming to see it today. And she goes, oh, my daughter wants to see it before anyone else. can we see it before? And he's like, yeah, yeah. So he gives us like a whole private tour. He explains what they've done, like all the renovations they've done. And as I walked in, I said to my mom, I said, esta es mi casa. And my mom said, esta es. She's like, this is it. And I was like, okay. So he like walked us in and we came in through the back. So we walked straight into the kitchen, and the kitchen is like twice the size it was normally. And so, and my mom's the one that you see like in the back. So um the kitchen is twice the size it was normally. The bathroom was renovated, also expanded. And the backyard is beautiful, and the location, I'm within a mile from my mom. And right when I was the first house that I saw before this one, I was like, I think I'm gonna put an offer on it. Like, it's okay just because it doesn't have like the gas stove. Like, I'll just put an offer on it anyway. But I had got all four here. I had the gas stove, the backyard, the location, and the kitchen, and it's all here. And so, right when you think that you're like, I guess, gonna settle or say like, I guess, I guess this is okay, which is settling, don't. That's all.
I love it.
Yeah, and I think I need to be clear first with what I want.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be the
Mhm.
whole thing. It's just what are the things I have to have, and what are my non-negotiables, like Natalie said. She didn't sit there and be like, it has to be this color and this many walls and this, she wasn't like all the things. It was just, what are the important things?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I did
Yeah.
it for my office, so it's
Mhm.
possible.
Yes. So your homework is like, write that list. What are my important things? What are my non-negotiables? And price and everything. Yeah. And if you want to share it with us or not share it, I would say share it. I think that would be fun little fun exercise. I also wanted to go with the whole like I'm a pre this. And that's how I want to wrap up. I want you guys to share like what you are. So for me, I'm a pre. So, and see, it's even scary for me to say it. This is good for me too. Because what it is these women, they're, yeah, like, yes, they're millionaires, but they're in their divine feminine energy in the way that they do it. And that for me is a big challenge, because I've always been very like work hard, so I've had to do a lot of work. So for me, I'm a pre-millionaire in my divine feminine energy. And I can feel it. I can feel the blocks are, but I'm like, that's why I'm in that mastermind. That's why I'm going to that retreat. I'm going to work through that. So what do you guys want to say for yourselves? What are you a pre what?
Can I take that one too? I have to think
Yes.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not sure yet, you can sit with it. You can say, I'm a dream homeowner.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dream home. And when you get it, I know you're gonna, like, I can see it already. You're gonna send us pictures. It's gonna be amazing. You're like, I got all the things I wanted. It's all gonna be there. Yeah. I know it feels scary. That's okay. But mine felt scary too. That's a good thing. I love that. What about for you, Natalie? What's yours?
So for me, it's not scary. It's more like, who am I? Like, do I deserve this?
Mm,
So mine is, I'm a Pani Cafe truck owner
mm,
in her divine feminine that
mm.
gets to vacation at her lake house in the
Ooh.
summer.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, you got to share that in Slack, and we'll follow that format. We will, like, I feel like me and Christina gotta like level up to you and be like, okay, I am this, gotta make it a whole sentence. I love that. How did it feel when you said it?
Like I wanted to like go into like a little shell, like Do you really deserve that?
Mm. Yeah, it's that remember that's why I wanted to share the visuals, because when I was getting these downloads, I was like, oh my God, I see it, remember these visuals, like that's what, right? You're like, oh, how about we just stay in here? But nope, all of us, we're gonna break past and we're gonna go over here. Time to go to the next level. That's what this is. We've got each other's back. We're gonna help each other. It's okay to go in Slack and be like, guys, I'm having a moment. I think I'm crazy. Like, what's going on? Because we're there to encourage and support each other through it. So it's okay. Share when you're like not believing, when you are believing, when you're seeing the signs, when you're not seeing the signs. It's all part of the process, and we have each other's back through it. Yeah. Ooh, thank you guys so much for letting me hold space for you. Any final thoughts or questions for tonight?
Hay que echarle ganas. That's all.
Yes. We've got
Yeah.
this. Oh, so
Yeah.
excited for this group.
Me
So
too.
next week we have the businessy one. So I'll be teaching a little bit business, but my goal with that one is also to do some business like group coaching, masterminding as well. So please feel free to bring any business questions you have, if you want feedback on anything in a group setting, like, and we're, like really use that as an opportunity for that. So I'll be teaching a bit, but it'll also be open coaching as well. So feel free to bring anything you need support with in your business. And yeah, and I will see you both next week.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Of course, you're welcome. Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too. It
You
was nice to
too.
meet you.
Likewise.
Ciao.
Goodbye.
Bye.